You do. Peace and welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. Folks, we got a lot of great conversations. First and foremost, we're going to talk to Mr. Politics himself, Hassan Giordano, to talk to us about a number of things, from the prosecution in Baltimore City dropping the charges against Adnan Syed for the killing of his classmate 20 years ago. We'll also talk about, give you some more updates on what's happening in the LA City Council saga. And President Trump is starting a new company in the state of New York. Wow. While he's being sued by the Attorney General. We'll have that conversation. Also, can we talk about STEM in the classroom? We check in with author LaTanya Brooks to show us how you can have conversations about STEM literacy at a very young age. And I got another segment, folks, about an unfortunate story that I'm asking you as the culture crew, as the online community, to join us in creating an effort and to really show support for one family who needs your help. We'll have that. Plus, we got trends posting during the most. So stay with us. That's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network, streaming live on blackstarnetwork.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Folks, we got a lot to talk about, so we want to jump right into it. Of course, on Thursdays, we have an opportunity to check in and get some political analysis from one of our top political analysts here on The Culture, Mr. Hassan, Mr. Politics Giordano, who is the owner and founder of DMV Daily Media Group, to give us some of the latest talks around a number of political issues. We're going to be checking in with Hassan in a moment, but we encourage you to make sure that you tell your friends and family and everybody that you know that the culture has started, and of course that we need your support. So make sure that you do your due diligence. Go to blackstarnetwork.com, show your support for the work that we're doing, continue to do each and every day. And of course, continue to have the conversations that matter the most to you. So check this out at blackstarnetwork.com. Folks, I'm telling you, politics is happening all across the country. As we speak right now, we are actually streaming on Black Star Network the January 6th committee hearings. This is what many are saying, pretty much like the last hearing of the year around, of course, what happened on January the 6th, and continuing to state the case of how former President Donald Trump has been an integral part in leading the charge against that attack on the Capitol on January the 6th. So that is happening as we speak. But let's check in with Mr. Politics himself to kind of talk a little bit about some of the other things that are happening. Hassan, it's always good to hear from you, brother. What's going on? Peace and blessings.
Always a pleasure, brother Farajii. Always a pleasure. What's happening?
Hey, look, Yeah, bro. Yeah. Hey,
You
look,
like
real
how those
quick.
Ravens got down on Sunday night, though, don't you? Good. I said, you like how the Ravens got down on Sunday night. We ain't blow that.
Hey, look, we still got a problem. We still got some problems, bro.
No,
that was. We're gonna table this. We're gonna table this.
Don't just
I'm
because
gonna
you in
blow
LA,
up your
don't
phone
be
this
hating on your
weekend,
Ravens now.
bro. I'm gonna blow up your phone. Look, real quick. I know that this is. We know this committee hearing is happening, right? So we know that's been happening January 6th. You know, of course, it is what it is. You know, we've seen all of these sessions and hearings have been happening over the past few months. This is what they say it was pretty much going to be the last session, correct? I mean, certainly before the midterm. Any quick thoughts about the impact of all of these hearings, especially as we're a little bit less than 4 weeks out from the midterms?
Yeah, well, you know, it's like I said, it's the political theater I told you it was, right? They had to wrap it up. This was all in time and in concert with the upcoming elections. You notice they're wrapping it up right before November 8th. They understand, Democrats understand what they're doing and how they're using it. And the upcoming hearing that we're going to hear tonight is basically, I would tell people it's like a heavyweight bout or even a closing argument, right, of a case that you may see on law. This is their opportunity to kind of make the case, the closing case on what January 6th was truly about, in their opinion, who the players were in this situation. Again, this is not going to be testimony like we've heard in previous committee hearings on being televised. This is going to be basically a summation of everything that's been heard. Some new information, I'm sure, will be brought to light that's come to them either in the past few weeks or they've just held for the past few weeks to kind of make that last minute bang. But make no mistake about it, this is Democrats' opportunity to make their last pitch effort to the voters who are going to be paying attention to this, as well as to the media who will be writing about it and talking about it before November 8th to change hearts and minds of the voters heading to the polls.
But more political theater.
Yeah, that's it. That's all it is. You know, it's sad because I think a lot of people in this country would love to see people held accountable. Let's make a mistake about it. There were people who were a part of January 6th's insurrection that were held accountable, that went to court, that got somewhat lengthy prison times, right? And or some type of adjudication in the matter. So it's not as if they just kind of swept it under the rug, didn't do nothing. But in this case, in the case of bringing it before the House, I think many people believed that by convening this investigation in this January 6th hearing, that Democrats were steadfast on trying to bring forth some type of charges or conclusion to the matter. And I think they disappointed quite a lot of people because nothing really came of it other than sensationalism. And we get that on, you know, national news each and every day. So there's nothing that, you know, it's kind of an empty bag of fruit. A lot of people who are even some of the most avid supporters of those bringing this committee together are quite disappointed at the end of this.
All right. Well, you know, we will see how everything, you know, unfolds. And you're right. You know, I will be interested to see the impact that it will have on November the 8th. Now, let's look at something else that is, of course, has created a lot of buzz. Is this prosecution of Adnan Syed. This is the gentleman who went to prison for more than 20 years. For the alleged murder. They thought that he was responsible for the 1999 killing of his classmate, Hyman Lee. And, you know, after 20 plus years being in prison, his conviction was essentially overturned last month, but he remained charged with the murder, kidnapping, and robbery in Lee's death, according to the reports. While Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby's office considered whether to try to move forward with the prosecution. Now it has come out that that they will not proceed in charging Adnan Syed. What would you think is the big turning point? Because everybody kept talking about this case being featured on that podcast Serial, and that really brought a lot of questions up that created this level of doubt and uncertainty about his guilt. Would you say that was the issue? That was like the tipping point?
100%. You know, let's break it down a little bit. So this is nothing but political theater by Marilyn Mosby. Once again, right? She's taking this up at the very end when she could have done something about this and did exactly what she's done now over the past 8 years of being the state's attorney of Baltimore City. But now that she sees that she's on her way out the door and she's trying to build up her public image ahead of her March 2023 federal trial in Baltimore. And she's trying to also, you know, gain favor with the national progressive movement. This is her way of kind of sticking it to Ivan Bates on the way out the door. And I say that because in 2015, we heard Serial, and Serial, without a doubt, made the Adnan Syed case what it is today. We would not be here without it, right? Now, Rabia, which is Adnan's sister, she has a podcast that came after Serial called Undisclosed. That has further kind of given more information, more detailed information about the case. But she's the one that's been fighting this since 1999. His family has been intricately involved in knowing of his innocence. Heyman Lee was his girlfriend back then. They had separated at the time. They were young. He comes from an Islamic family. She's Asian. So their families really never got along. Her family in particular did not want them together and really had a negative opinion about Adnan. And so when this happened, there was a lot of uncertainty. The trials, there was 2 trials in Baltimore. One was a mistrial. The second one he ended up being convicted on, but there was a lot of circumstantial evidence. There was a lot of questions, including his attorney, who at the time was kind of dealing with some life-challenging issues. She ended up passing away not too long after the trial, but she was an attorney who frequently came before the bar associate. I mean, she kind of cut corners and a lot of things that did not take place during the trial that the family wanted. So as we move along, Serial takes this up and it becomes, you know, Serial is still the most downloaded podcast in the history of podcasts, right? This is what podcasts were like first coming out and first getting onto the scene, and they made an impact, and this was their first one. And so it raised a lot of doubts. A lot of people heard it, and it gained a cult-like following, right? And as a matter of fact, I'm wearing a nod that this is part of the family's free a nod, but on the back of it, it also says justice for Heyman Lee's family, right? Because it was never about just Adnan. It's also been about, if you talk to this young brother, you will be so impressed, Brother Farajii. He stayed humble throughout this whole time. He's maintained his innocence, but he's always thought about her killer and bringing them to justice more than his own freedom. And so, you know, it's sad to say that he spent 23 years in prison for a crime that obviously he seemingly did not commit. In Maryland, you know, he'll get compensated possibly $2.2 million, free healthcare for 5 years, and free tuition. Now, I don't think that's a great trade-off for
not for 23 years.
Yeah, not for 23.
Not
Maybe
for 23 years, bro.
But not 23 years. No, absolutely.
No, not for 23 years, bro. I mean, I mean, and I mean, I appreciate, you know, you getting a little money and all of those things, but you can't get that time back.
No,
you can't get that time back, you know.
And no amount of money can compensate you for the savageness that you see behind bars. I've been there. I understand this. A lot of people know, like being behind bars is not like you're just living at home during COVID, right? And you can't go nowhere. It's a whole lot more stuff that goes to being incarcerated. So that amount of, you know, they do off the median income, and that's how the formula came about. But really, before maybe 5 or 10 years ago, we barely paid them anything at all, if anything, when we freed those who were charged, convicted for crimes they did not commit. So, you know, it is that. But let's make no mistake about it, Farajii. Back in 2018, Adnan had an opportunity to have his case overturned and to have a new trial. During that time, during 2018, Marilyn Mosby was the state's attorney for Baltimore City. The person who was arguing the case on behalf of the Maryland Attorney General's office was a young man running against Marilyn Mosby, about to run for state's attorney by the name of Daru Vignaraja. And the one individual who was advocating the release of Adnan, or at least having a new trial, is the incoming state's attorney, Ivan Bates. And so we were able to have Robbie and them on our show years ago discussing this case during the HBO feature. HBO at that time was doing a 4-part documentary series on them. And so it shows, and I say that to say, at that time, Marilyn Mosby didn't raise a peep about Adnan. As a matter of fact, when it was raised by the family and the media about what she would do with her office to interject in this matter, she said nothing at all, because at that time, she still didn't think he was not guilty. She said that the Serial podcast did not raise to the level of concern she felt as a prosecutor to be able to undo what had already been done. And she followed that theory all the way up until she lost in July of this year as state's attorney, going out the door, understanding she has her own federal trial, and she has to look good in the eyes of many who are going to probably sit on her jury when she comes before them. And all of a sudden, this comes about. So even, I don't want to speak for the family, but many of the people who have been watching this from afar, who've been watching this the entire time, Farajii, know that this is nothing but political theater for her. But it's a great thing for Adnan and his family to have the brother home, to finally see. And now the DNA testing that finally was done shows, now that they've tested it in full, that Adnan's DNA was not on any of her stuff, right? And there was somebody's DNA who was on both of her shoes and her clothing. And this individual has been convicted of doing, let's put it this way. I'm going to let them do that part, because I don't want to talk about stuff from an individual if nothing comes to light. We'll leave it there, because I certainly don't want to get you in trouble, your show in trouble later on if they don't bring charges. But let's just say there is DNA evidence linking another individual possibly to this crime, who could be charged with her crime 23 years later, mind you, in the coming weeks.
I mean, look, the whole situation is sad, to say the least, because both Adnan and Ha Min Lee were both just high school students, and that's the part about it, folks. I mean, when you go into deep in it, they went to a school in outside of Baltimore City in the Baltimore County called Woodlawn High School, and they were boyfriend and girlfriend, and they were high school students. When you're talking about, I think he was about 17 or 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So, to see, when we look at the big scheme of things, you're 17 years old, you lose 23 years. He's 40. The brother's 40. And if y'all think, I mean, just to put it in perspective, look how much life happens between, on average, between 17, 18, and 40. Like you get further along, you go to college, you may get a family, you may go further along in your career, but that's a big pivotal part of your life. Now he's in a different place, but that's still time lost. And there's no amount of money, there's no amount of health care, there's nothing that can compensate for something like that. I mean, because he's 40, and now when he's basically, quote unquote, just starting in his life, most of us are figuring out, how we can we're talking legacy, he's talking origin. You know what I'm saying? He has to start. And that's the mind-blowing part about it. And especially if, it really comes out that the charges are dropped, and then they're looking at the DNA and they say, oh, then somebody else did it. I mean, the state just says, I'm sorry. Right. I'm sorry. That's a hard pill to swallow. Right. Right. You know what I mean? Like, it's my bad. It happens. You know what I mean? It's like what an response, like, stuff happens. And you're like, wow. Let me go to some of the comments, because folks are checking in. Conscious Thought, I really love your comment. You said, now that charges have been dropped against Adnan Syed, who actually killed the woman that he served prison time for? I'm always concerned at instances of legal malfeasance. Killer gets away with it. I'm right there with you, Conscious Thought. Bro, I'm right there with you. because who did? Unfortunately, her body was found in a public park in Baltimore City, and the park has a history of having where people drop bodies. So she could have been killed there, or she could have had her bodies dropped there, right? So that's always been my concern. Like when these cases like this, and I'm sure this is a big concern for Anad and the family of Hayman Lee. It's like, where's the killer? Now, like you mentioned, the DNA, they have somebody, they have I will say a person of interest for this case. But at the end of the day, it's like you 23 years later, and not to, it's going to be interesting to see if that person of interest actually becomes a suspect. And if that is the person that has done the unfortunate murder, then what are they looking at?
Well, here's the interesting part, though, Farajii. And I think, I'm just going to be honest with you. Politically, strategically, Marilyn Mosby, it's a win-win for her. And this is why. And, honestly, if you're looking at it from the political aspect, is because she gets the credit of freeing Anad, right? And again, it's a cult-like following behind this case. So this is known all around the world, not just in this country. Yeah. But then she puts the onus on, because as the viewer just talked about, okay, well, the next logical question is, who's responsible? She puts the onus on, okay, I'm going to give you the possibility of a person who's responsible. Here's what the DNA tells us. If she charges this individual between now and the time she leaves office, which is January the 1st, then she puts the onus on her nemesis, the incoming state's attorney, to make a case against someone 23 years later with almost no evidence whatsoever. I mean, it was circumstantial when Anad went 19 years ago. 23 years ago. In 1999, it was mostly circumstantial because there was no real. Wow. Now, imagine trying that case 23 years later with no witness testimony whatsoever. Many of the police and those involved in the case itself have either retired or passed away. You're going off some shaky DNA evidence. So you put Mr. Bates, who is always, everybody has known, because he's been very outspoken on this issue, along with the Keith Davis issue, that when he took office, he would do this, that he would free Anad. So she beat him to the punch, and then now we're going to put the onus on his office to prosecute a 23-year-old case. And it's in a trick bag because he's probably not going to have enough evidence to move forward. And so they're going to be like, well, why didn't you bring this person to justice? You must not be a great prosecutor. You couldn't bring him, and it's like, well, how do you explain that this is a 23? I mean, this is almost a quarter century old. Yeah.
Yeah. That puts him in a trick bag for real.
Yeah.
Like you can't redeem yourself from that. That's what I mean. Here's the part about it too. And I think this speaks to exactly what you just said. You can risk going to trial or bringing charges against a person with little to work with, right? But if you don't go to trial, then the family, Anad, and everybody that's involved, they're going to look at you as an incoming state's attorney and look at your office as being incompetent and a liar, because you said that you were.
And then if you do bring them to trial and you miss and you don't get a conviction,
and you lose,
right? It's a win-win for Marilyn Mosby, a lose-lose for Ivan Bates at the end of the day.
Wow!
But it's also a win-win from Adnan Syed's family case. But then it's a lose-lose for the Hayman Lee family, who will likely never get justice for whoever killed their daughter.
And let me go to a couple of more quick comments, and then we're going to take a quick pause. Brother Kingley, my guy, good to hear from you, bro. Checking in from Germany. You say exactly. The $2.2 million is chump change, right? No amount of money can make up for not having physical freedom for Farajii. Nope. 3 years, you'd be like, all right. 4, okay. 23?
No. No. You better give me Lil Wayne type money. Like you got to get the Brinks truck to back it up to my house for 23 years in prison.
I mean, if like for me, it would be like everybody, all the children in my family go to college free.
Right.
Go to the top colleges in the state of Maryland for free.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? like Hassan, your son will go to college for free and get a job. You know what I'm saying? It's like we might as well just build legacy because money gonna come and money gonna go, bro. Tiana, you checked and you said the way this whole thing was done was completely wrong. The prosecutor at the time was beyond overzealous. Oh, absolutely. I mean, but that's, you know, unfortunately, Tiana, that's how some of these cases are. That's how some of these cases are. You know what I mean? You so want to get somebody locked up. You really do a disservice because when you there's more energy trying to, you know, you lock up the wrong person. Now you got to put extra resources. Because then if they are found to be if the wrong person locked up, they get out. Now you got to go back in and pretty much investigate the case all over again. More resources. Thank you, Tiana, for that point. James Jones Bay, my guy, you said, look, this man could have had chronic care condition like diabetes from being in prison. 5 years is not enough. I hear that. You're right. I mean, look, again, and I think to Hassan's point, folks, this is a slow progression in terms of quote unquote getting anything. Y'all remember now, this is kind of like very new, where a state will pay anybody anything or give you anything for being unfairly prosecuted, unfairly locked up. Because y'all know, like I know, if you were the wrong person for a crime, the only thing they give you was your clothes back. Sorry. And a pat on the back. I hope you got a good life.
And many of
they didn't give you no money.
Right. Even the financial part and the healthcare and all that came following the exoneration of Kirk Bloodsworth here in Maryland. And after, and it didn't just come, he himself and advocates alike. I was fortunate enough to be there to witness it and happen to testify that this came through legislative process after Kirk Bloodsworth was exonerated. And to Marilyn Mosby's credit, over the past 8 years, while this has not been on her radar until now, she has went out of her way to try to exonerate, and I can't even count how many. It's over 24 at least African-American men, largely, who have been exonerated for crimes they did not commit. Some of them have been in jail for over 10, others over 20 years, beyond just Adnan. Adnan is kind of the final one, but she's been doing this throughout her administration, especially for those who look like you and I. So that has been her mission during her time as state's attorney. It was this case was brought to her prior years ago. Kind of passed away, but make no mistake about it, that has been her legacy in trying to afford justice to people who usually is just us.
There it is. Folks, look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's have let's switch gears on the conversation with Mr. Politics. Let's talk about the latest developments of this LA City Council situation, racial slur audio being leaked. Because I want to have a discussion a little bit about what were these council people, what was Ron Rivera of the labor movement here in LA, what were they all coming together about? You know what? They were talking about redistricting. They were talking about moving the lines and the boundaries. That way it would, quote unquote, benefit them and their constituents in the upcoming election. And guess what, folks? I'm sure Hassan can talk to us about this. This happens all the time. It happens all the time. Conversations are being had right now across this country as we're getting ready for this midterm on how to redistrict, how to redraw the lines, so that way some people get more resources and power while other people stay poor, while other people stay deficient, while other people stay powerless. We're going to have that conversation and, of course, bring you up to speed on what's going on with your favorite president, former President Donald Trump. Stay with me. A lot to get to the next half hour of the culture right here or, right here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
An angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks. As you know, throughout this week, we have been talking to you and giving you the latest development in the scandal that has rocked the city of Los Angeles and political leadership here in the city of Los Angeles, where the audio was leaked of former city council president Nuri Martinez, Councilman Gil Cedillo, Councilman Kevin De Leon, and labor leader Ron Herrera. Now, yesterday I mentioned that the City Council President Nuri Martinez had actually dropped out. I misspoke. I want to make sure I change this on public record, stating that she did not, at yesterday's conversation, she was out for leave of absence. Today, yesterday, I'm sorry, when we talked to her yesterday, it was leave of absence. Later on, she officially resigned. So I just wanted to make that correction on myself, that it was a leave of absence that she took on Monday and Tuesday, but then she officially resigned yesterday. And so I just wanted to apologize for not making that distinction. But as a result of what we've been seeing in LA, outside of the offensive remarks, many people, some of us are still hurt, and some of us are still shocked, and some of us are still in a state of uncertainty about the offensive marks and the offensive nature of the conversation. But the real conversation is the conversation that they were actually having, which was the redistricting of lines, moving the lines, talking about how they can move the lines to benefit their districts, to benefit them as they try to gain key voting blocks. And more importantly, they try to gain more power. This is being done everywhere, folks. Everywhere. Democrats and Republicans have these conversations behind closed doors. And in those conversations, they look at us, the constituents, like pieces on a chess table, folks. Oh, I'm gonna move. Look, you could take the blacks, you could take the Jews. What's this group? The Italians. You know, the Italians, they come out to vote. I wanted to have this conversation with my guy, Hassan, Mr. Politics Giordano, as we look at this, because guess what? He understands the dynamics of all of this, why it's important for us to understand what really happens when you're talking about redistricting, redrawing the lines, and trying to make your district more powerful. Let's bring Hassan back in. Hassan, I think this is the other part. Like, yes, we could talk about the racism of their language, but essentially they were talking about redrawing the lines of power, right? Here's a couple of things that the LA Times spoke about very quickly. They were saying that they spoke about Miss Martinez, Gil Cedillo, Kevin De Leon. They spoke about strategies for ensuring that council districts would be redrawn so that Latino leaders would have had within their districts key blocks of voters, as well as assets like airports that can enhance an office holder's political influence and fundraising ability.
Absolutely.
Bingo. That's what it is. That's what it is. So let's Hassan, I mean, you've been in these spaces. You've had conversations with both Democrats and Republicans. Both groups actually have these discussions behind closed doors. But now people are, because of this situation, and there have been many others. I mean, these folks got caught red-handed having an offensive conversation while at the same time trying to figure out how they can stay more in power. But is this, what does this do when you have this type of, strategy planning? When you have something like this happen, what are we really talking about here? Because this seems like this undermines a lot of things, the fundamentals of democracy. This undermines what people think that their government is doing. I mean, this just seems very, very backhanded, backdoor, shady and manipulative. What's really going on here?
Well, Farajii, first and foremost, while I was like most, wasn't shocked or outraged, but I was furious when I heard the remarks. I immediately saw what you're talking, and I'm so glad you are, because people have taken that part, the racial part, and ran with that and totally missed everything else that's in it, the real story, which is the redistricting. This is what the conversation was really all about. This side conversation about African Americans and this council member's child, biracial child, and these other racial remarks, that was them being them, their personality. The conversation was about resources. That's all redistricting is about, is how do we take this block of land to ensure our future political success, right? And so that's why I'm glad this is the conversation beyond anything else. First and foremost, I'm glad that the former councilwoman, I'm glad to call her that now, has decided and realized that she had no political future after. You saw what most politicians do. She offered a bullshit apology that you could take that and shove it, because we know damn well you didn't mean any of that. Then she resigns from the council presidency, but still stays a council member and takes this leave of absence. But then her people around her, the Democrat, the party affiliates, the party leaders, and her advisors came together and told her, you can't survive this. You got to go. And so she finally realized, okay, it's time for me to resign. Now, her other two colleagues, unfortunately, haven't gotten that memo. And so I'm assuming they're saying, okay, she's going to fall on the sword for all of us. Y'all can just wait this out. People of LA County ain't having it. I'm telling you right now, you see it. And I was so happy to see the response from the community.
No doubt.
Up. They didn't even let them have a council session. We shut this thing down until you follow our demands. But
so that's and I'm happy that happened. And the reason that we're bringing this part about the redistricting, because California, the state's attorney here in California is now investigating, what they was trying to do in terms of redrawing these lines. But I don't want people to miss that this is more detrimental than the offensive remarks that were made. That's the part I don't want people to miss, right? You know what I'm saying? Like you talking about, and it's not just talking about a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. You're talking about millions of dollars. Because folks, this is politics. Millions of dollars are allocated to districts as a result of a line talking about boundaries. And they do this every so many years, Hassan, and you could tell us, how many years that the various states do it. But millions of dollars are allocated to certain districts because of the lines, because you got a group of people that may vote a little bit here versus a group of people that vote in every single election there, and then versus another group of people that just don't vote at all. Millions of dollars are allocated. And when we have these conversations, bro, about Black communities, while we're not seeing, why their food deserts exist in Black communities because we don't have supermarkets, or why the schools aren't being fixed up, why the roads are so bad, because money is not being funneled to those neighborhoods. Those areas are not being financially supported, and as a result, and that's because somebody in power didn't say, well, you know what? I'm not worried about those folks over there in this part of town or that part of the state. We gonna just redraw some lines here. I mean, they're having these conversations, bro, and I'm really like disturbed by this. That you can have. It was only 4 people, Hassan, a city council president, and the city council, she's served in both roles, 2 city council members, and a labor man. And you're talking about literally, and I think within I read that even within the audio, you had a man, I think it was Ron Herrera, who made the point. He said that we are like a committee. How did he call it? He said basically like we determine, the 4 of us in this room, we determine the future for a certain group of Latinos. We determine the future. Like, listen to that. You know how many, there are 4 million people in Los Angeles City, 10 million people in LA County. You got 4 Latinos and this is the sad part. I'm not trying to put no hate out there. I'm just letting y'all know what it is. You got 4 Latinos from the community in power who said who entitled themselves to feel like they got the power to just move stuff around to benefit them. That's sad. That's disturbing, and that's sickening. And I don't know, Hassan, how do we address that from the constituent standpoint?
Well, part of the problem is, Farajii, is in any seat of government, there's always that dynamic, right, of the power shift. And that's why I would hope that people watching or people who are listening understand the power of voting. Voting isn't just about, hey, let me just go out there and cast the vote one time and hope the right person, the person I like, gets in. But it's about holding their feet to the fire when things like this come up. Because many of our Black elected officials are content with naming airports, like Maryland. Oh, yeah, Thurgood Marshall Airport. Okay, that's fine and dandy. But when redistricting comes up, you're not worried about putting those resources of an airport in your district, in a district that largely encompasses African Americans that can help move your community for your constituents forward. And people are like, well, why about an airport? Guess what? Airports that get tax breaks, they get certain resources. They'll never let that area go under, because that is largely, in most areas, that is the staple, the center point of their community, right? And so whether it's airports or certain other resources, state facilities, federal facilities, you start to see these conversations. In LA County, for instance, this investigation is a day late, dollar short, if you ask me, because it's already happened. Redistricting is done. They do it every 10 years. After the census is done, following the census, you get redistricting. Now, it's different in different locations and counties in different states across the country. But every party, Democrat and Republican both do what's called gerrymandering. And gerrymandering is exactly what you're talking about, Farajii. Let's pack certain districts so that way our party has an advantage over the other. And then on the local level, more is how do we draw these lines to our advantage, right? That's Jerry. Now, redistricting on its surface should be a good thing, but we allow our politicians to control it. LA County, for instance, has a process where they have an independent commission that recommends how the lines should be drawn. And yet, on the back end of that, the elected officials, the LA County Council, that are supposed to listen to those recommendations, ignore them, and they get what we get right here with former Councilwoman Martinez and her colleagues who are saying, yeah, that's what they say, but the hell with what they say, because we know as Latinos, we need to control a certain portion. That's how we stay in control. That's how we stay in power. They don't care about their constituents. It's all about them at that point. And so until we take across the country, take the politicians and the politics out of redistricting, because they're going to gerrymander no matter what party they are, and then put people who really don't care, that their determining factor isn't based off politics and power, but based off the fairness of the drawing of the lines, based off geographics, racial geographics, political party geographics. So they do it off of fairness, right? We had it right here in Maryland, and they decided to go against that, did it themselves, and they found themselves in court. And then the courts had to intervene. And then you find yourself in a whole battle when if you would have just listened in the first place to the independent commission and followed suit, we would have been all right. So this is an argument that needs to be made on a national level. It needs to be talked about how we end gerrymandering and how we begin to have a universal independent commission drawing the lines across the board for redistricting after the census numbers have been drawn.
Right. Let me just share some comments from my online culture crew, because folks are talking about this. And Rashida, you brought this up because, I put it in the chat. Gerrymandering happens all the time, and this is what we're seeing. This is what was the case in this particular matter. Rashida, guess you said, Farajii, why are you shocked? There are races that always dominate their people. Are these 4 people on the council Puerto Rican or Dominican? I don't know. I don't know if they're Puerto Rican or Dominican. I'm not shocked, Sister Rashida. I'm not necessarily shocked, but I just don't want us to get distracted. Like we can get angry over their use. We can get angry that Cedillo and De Leon are still sitting on the council. Now, Cedillo, he's not going anywhere. His term actually ends at the end of the year, if I'm not mistaken. And so, and De Leon, he's the one that needs to go, but he decided he's not going. He actually was at this city council meeting that just happened on Tuesday of this week. I'm not shocked about that, but I just don't want us to get distracted, because that's the important part about this. Yes, they made some offensive remarks, but the reality is they were talking about, like Hassan said, the California Commission. They have an independent commission that provide these recommendations, but in the city of Los Angeles, these recommendations do not have to be adhered to. The city council of Los Angeles can make their own district, folks. And see, when you know that, when you know how the government works in that capacity, now for us as the constituents, we got something to stand on. Maybe we go to the state and say, hey, can we change that? Because look what just happened. If the city council can decide their own boundaries, right? If city council members can decide their own boundaries and they conspire outside of any type of oversight, they can conspire to do what we just saw happen on this tape. And this thing was done, Hassan, back in October of 2021. Mm-hmm. Inside of the labor office in Los Angeles, right downtown, last year. They still don't know who put out the audio. They still don't know why the place was bugged, but they were, according to the reports, folks have said that it's a labor situation, that those type of, unfortunately, like some of these offices in the labor building have been bugged because you got a whole bunch of backdoor dealing. You don't know. But that's that's the thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so maybe the call is not just to get them resigned, because I don't want them popping up somewhere else. The call is, can the state of California not just provide an independent commission, but can the state of California say, we are no longer allowing city councils in the state of California to do their own redistricting? We'll do it.
They can, but they won't, because basically, you know, you're asking the power brokers to cede their own power. It's never going to happen, because they understand, even from the state government level, if we intervene on the local, then how's that going to look on us? Like, we are all colleagues. We all got to work together. And I don't want them forcing us to have to change our own way of redistricting and gerrymandering. So I'm not going to get, and that's why the people, in many aspects, in most jurisdictions, you have the opportunity to bring forth charter amendments. Now, I would ask those compassionate people that stormed the council chambers in LA County, this is a charter amendment, right? That allows this to happen. Now, mind you, one of the hearings before the council just the other day that they stormed, that they stopped them from doing business, was an actual charter amendment introduced by a councilwoman on there, Councilwoman Rahman, who was one of the targets of their wrath during this conversation that we heard, and whose district actually was redrawn worse than everybody else's because they didn't like her because she didn't go along. She's Latino as well, but she didn't go along with their plans of power. So they redrew her lines. She has a bill in now, a charter amendment that will do exactly what we're talking about, is make it an independent commission that the politicians have no hands in. Now, whether that 15-member council will actually vote in favor of that is one thing, because they have to. It's not a simple majority. When you do charter amendments and constitutional amendments, they have to be usually 3/4 of majority, right? A super majority. So that means they're going to have up to 12 of the 15 members vote. But it's still, the people can also do petition drives in most jurisdictions, including LA County, where they can get upwards of, usually it's 1% of the total past population that came out to vote in the past general election. So, 1% here in Baltimore, with 600,000 residents, is about 10,000 signatures. In LA County, that's a whole lot different because y'all got a lot more people. But there's a number that you reach, and all you got to do is go out and get the signatures of voters all across LA County, turn them in, and then it goes to the ballot for the voters to decide. And to me, that's the best way of getting stuff passed, because if you're going to try to go through the politicians, the people guarding the hen house, to ask them to open up the hen house, it's almost never going to happen.
Right. All right, let me go back to some of our comments, because folks are checking in, and I'm loving the discussion that we having on our YouTube chat right now. Rashida, you said it's Farajii. It's just disappointing how many races don't like us, right? We understand it. Let me tell you what's even more disappointing: that we don't respond in an organized way to find some level of power. Like, we don't have to be the brunt of the joke all the time as a people. We do have power. We do have power. And let's not act as if just because we're just 8% of the population here in Los Angeles, like we can't do anything. That's not true. That's not true. You see what I'm saying? That's not true at all. If you are organized and you are clear about what the objectives you're trying to achieve, you can make things happen even from a minority point of view. You just got to be organized. And if once we get there, Hassan, I think once we get there, you and I have been doing organizing work, political activism work for years in the city of Baltimore, around the state of Maryland. That's the thing that government officials do not want to see: an organized constituency. When you start running up in City Hall, organized and disruptive. When you run up in the State House, organized and disruptive, or organized, and you got hundreds of names. See, our government, and I'm saying this, I'm being very real, because I've been in all of the like hearings and all of that. They don't expect the people to be present. decisions are made, mandates are created, and guess what? They don't expect the people to come up in there. I mean, I don't know how many times we've encouraged people around issues of police reform and other issues. Go to your local, go to your state house, go to seeing the state legislators, the lawmakers. They don't expect to see nobody there. The police don't expect to see groups of people standing right there in the state house looking, no, we about to testify against you because we want to see some policy change. And it don't take that many people. We're not talking thousands, folks. I've literally been in meetings and seen 50 people will show up. The whole energy of the meeting will change because 50 people are standing there like, no, y'all gonna proceed. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, no, we just witnessing how these decisions are made. They can't even get themselves together from 50. So it's that type of engagement I think that we need to look at. All right, let me go to some more. Karen Connor, Karen, you as a Black Angelino, you mentioned that Councilwoman Rahman is not Latino, she is Indian. So to that point, Hassan, yes, she is Indian. But Karen also said they likely deprived the Black community due to their interference during the redistricting. If our Attorney General finds crimes were committed, they will serve time. I am sick and disgusted. What, I mean, and I know we're about to wrap up, but really quickly, what kind of punishment, Hassan, can come from a situation like this?
Well, sometimes it's unprecedented, right? Because it may not have been prosecuted before. It may not have been brought before. In this case, I'm going to be honest. In this case, I would be shocked if charges came about or if any punishment came from this, because unless they were extremely sloppy and took payments from certain individual groups like the labor movement or something for their vote, like redistricting isn't illegal. Neither is gerrymandering, right? It's distasteful. Redistricting in on itself is fine. The gerrymandering is the problem. But again, it's not illegal. So depending on how they went about this, if they were paid for their vote to vote a certain way or things of that sort, that's something different. But if they were basically just strategically making these cuts to these maps and things of that sort to favor them, that's politics. There's nothing illegal about that. And so I don't think, based off of knowing politics the way they are, because if the Attorney General makes this investigation and they do find these certain levels of corruption, their next mindset isn't let's get to the bottom of this and hold these people accountable. Their first thought is, how is this going to affect our political party and our political futures? Because even though it's us, if it's our party of individuals, which this is, doing this type of work, do we really want to embarrass our party ahead of a presidential election in 2 years or ahead of the general election? You know what I mean? So again, as an individual, we would think, let's get to the bottom of it. Let's make justice prevail. And in many cases, a lot of them want to think that way, but it's always party politics ahead of everything else in these cases. Yeah. So I would be extremely shocked and surprised if any charges came about this. And trust and believe, you're going to see Ms. Martinez in another position of power. It may not be on the elected level, but I can see her maneuvering her way. That was probably part of the deal. Take the L, fall on the sword for the rest of us. We'll put you in charge of, the party in 2 years. Just wait it out. We'll and that's just how politics is. It's just kind of like, okay, don't worry. Let the heat die down, and we'll circumvent the process and bring you around, and you'll be a lobbyist in 2 years, making 3 times the amount of salary you were making as a council member.
Damn. And guess what? We'll all be forgetting.
We won't even bring it up anymore.
We won't bring it up because we got amnesia in this country. Mm-hmm. We'll be like, oh, she did that. So like, and here's the slap in the face from her. She talked about, I talked to my Black friends and I apologize.
So you got that few of Black friends that you knew you could call that many people and apologize. Like, that's the sad part. Like, God damn, right? So you had 2 Black friends and you called both of them and apologized. That's what you're saying.
Hey, look, let me just tell you too, she got deep connections to certain powerful Black folks in LA, right? And Man, look, if I was anybody running or had any type of connection with her, boy, I'd blast her. Be like, this relationship is over. I can't, there ain't nothing you can gain from that. There's nothing you can gain from that. There's no benefit in keeping a relationship with a Nuri Martinez or Kevin DeLeon. And I'm putting their names right out there because these jokers got to go, man. Like, it's just sickening. It's so sad that,
there's a benefit. There's a benefit to a Negro who don't care about his people, who is thinking about running in a district. You just said it. I didn't know this. Black people are only 8% of LA County, right? Latinos far outweigh African Americans.
Latinos in the city of LA, bro, is 22%.
So if I'm an African American who don't really care about my people, let alone myself, and I have this relationship with Martinez, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to stay your friend, but you're going to get me the votes I need in the Latino part of this district I'm about to run in, or that I'm already in, and that's the benefit of it. And I'm going to make sure you're taken care of on the back end. Look, people don't care. Everybody don't think like you and I. They don't care about their people. They don't even care about themselves. It's about enriching them and their family, and to hell with everybody else. So there is always a benefit to something, somewhere, to somebody.
Damn.
That's politics for you.
I'm telling you, brother. I'm telling you. It's a dirty, ugly game, boy. Woo! Dirty, ugly game. Hassan, Mr. Politics, Giordano, we appreciate you, brother, as we always do, politicking with you every Thursday. We truly, truly appreciate you. How can people keep up to date on the work you're doing, bro?
Absolutely. You can go to dmvdaily.news. You see us on Facebook and YouTube live every Tuesday, 6 to 8 p.m. at DMV Daily News, all one word, or just hashtag Mr. Politics, and all my stuff pops up.
There it is, right there. There it is. Hassan, thank you so much, brother, for the continued great work you do, and more importantly, for being so good for the culture, bro. We look forward to connecting with you next week.
Always a pleasure, brother. Peace.
Yes, sir. Always a pleasure. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's switch gears. Let's talk about bringing STEM to the classroom. How do we have STEM literacy at an early age and not wait until high school or college years? We're going to be checking in with one author, LaTanya Brooks, to give us some insight on how we can help make that transition. And then later on, I want to tell you about a story that I need your help on, family. Yo, I need your help. As we build our community here on The Culture, there's moments like this that we need to really use the power of our community to bring some good and justice to families in need. So this is going to be a plea to let's get something done on this particular case. I'm going to share with you the details of that case. So stay with us. A lot to come up in the next hour of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
Folks, welcome to the second hour of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. If you missed the first hour, you missed some great conversation as we checked in with Hassan, Mr. Politics G. O'Donnell, like we do every Thursday to kind of get the latest on some big political stories across the country. Now, you can certainly check us out in the replay of that right on Black Star Network. And you can just check us out, blackstarnetwork.com. You can see not just today's show, all the past shows we've done, and even help us continue to build a momentum to creating a Black media platform that understands us, that is unapologetically Black, that is unfiltered, and most importantly, that's right in tune with the culture. So make sure y'all check us out at blackstarnetwork.com. Also, if you want to follow us on all of our social media platforms, make sure you follow us at Black Star Network on IG and Twitter, and follow Brother Roland. And you can follow yours truly, Farajii Muhammad, me, on my IG page at The Real Farajii, on Twitter at Farajii. And let's do the great work of building, connecting, and most importantly, continue to cultivate this community so we can do the work of inspiring, enlightening each other, and of course, bringing a new era of consciousness around politics, social, healthcare, education, and all the social and economic issues that we face as a community. I want to create this community where we are just breaking through all the barriers. We are debunking all of the myths, and a community that is truly about the growth and progress of Black folks across this country and around the world. So make sure y'all connect and build with me. I would love to connect and build with you. All right, folks, I wanted to switch gears to have a conversation about STEM. STEM, of course, is science and technology, bringing all of those elements that is often needed in the workforce and needed in life. And how do we have those conversations? How do we teach our children about STEM early on, where they don't have to wait until they get into the high school years or their college years, or hell, some of us probably haven't been exposed to that level of teaching until we got into our adult life. And so we want to change the game on that. And one sister is definitely doing that. And she is an educator, she's a speaker, and she's the author of a number of books around how you can teach young people about science and technology, how you can get them invested. So we want to welcome to the airwaves of the Black Star Network here on The Culture, LaTanya Brooks. LaTanya, how are you this afternoon?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. First and foremost, you seem like you're a very busy woman. So I'm going to say it at the beginning. Thank you for your time with us today, because you are doing some great work. You are an educator, you are a speaker, you are a writer, you're an author, and you also serve as the CEO of the organization Grow with STEM. Before we talk about your book, let's talk a little bit about you. How did you get into this field? How did you start to really key in on, wanting to pursue and to blaze a trail to teach children about science and technology?
Well, I've always been a technology teacher, and STEM was this buzzword, I guess I would say about 7-8 years ago. I just heard STEM. It was like this buzzword, and nobody knew what it meant at the time. Now more people understand it's science, technology, engineering, and math. Well, I worked for Houston ISD at the time, and there was this big initiative to bring STEM curriculum, STEM awareness to the school district. But not only was it an initiative to bring it to the school district, we also wanted to focus on minorities. When we looked at the statistics, they were staggering. The women they make up about 50% of the workforce, but they only make up maybe about 20% of STEM careers. And if you look at African-American women and Hispanic women, African-American women make about 5%, Hispanic women 3%. But if you look at Blacks in total, overall, the numbers are just really low. It's more like 3 to 5%. And so that's why I really felt that I wanted to do things in the district, but I also wanted my message to be conveyed outside of the district so that I can touch more people, more lives, more audiences, and more of my people in general.
Right, right. And you know, when we talk about having these conversations, let's start with adults first. When we're talking about having these conversations with adults, what feedback do you normally get? Do you feel like adults are interested in you know, having these discussions?
I do. I know one event I went to in Louisiana, all of these, they just heard me say the word STEM. Wasn't sure exactly what it encompassed, but they were interested. And so I talked about engineering and robotics and critical thinking and coding. And then that's when the interest started to rise. And a lot of those parents started coming to me, asking me about the STEM programs, what's available. They started asking me for resources. And so I was sharing a lot with the parents as well as the students when I went to that. It was not a STEM focused event. It was an Arthur focused event, but I had a lot of parents, that just took an interest in STEM, especially after I explained to them how important and profitable these jobs are.
Oh yeah, once you start talking about that money, LaTanya, then everybody was
you
like,
get the parents in. Yes.
Oh, STEM.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's STEM. I thought you were talking about
growing flowers and plants and no, that's usually the hook. When I talk about how most of the STEM careers are careers that actually help mankind. They make things better because the whole point of science, technology, engineering, and math. I'm sorry, I'm still at work because you called me last minute. Sorry. I'm at school.
It's all good. You're a real teacher.
Yes, I'm still a teacher.
It's all good. You'd be surprised what people have interviews from. So I'm not even tripping.
I got it all set up. So, but what I focus on when I'm talking to the parents is just all of the good that can come from STEM, all the initiatives. Just if your kid is interested in the environment, for instance,
right.
that really.
Don't worry about it. You're all good.
Okay, so I'm so sorry, but yeah, the parents. I just. Besides from the money, because they like the money aspect, and also parents, you have a lot of parents that are helping to fund their children through college. And I know if I'm funding my child through college, I want to make sure that she or he is going to major in something that's going to be around. Some people say, I just want something to make me happy. I want something to make money. But first, you have to make sure that this job is sustainable and this job is not going anywhere, because there are a lot of jobs that used to be that no longer exist. If you look at the supermarkets, even fast food restaurants, you have a lot of these operations being taken over by technology.
Yeah.
And so I feel that's important.
So LaTanya, let's talk a little bit about, how do we have these conversations? Like you said, you talk to adults, but we need to, of course, get this, drop this seed in the minds of our babies at a very, very early age. That way they can cultivate a real love, because here's my pushback on talking about, new industries and new opportunities, that it's always money driven, right? Like for us and I'm saying as Black folks in this country, I think we need to be very aware about how to get involved in industries, even though the industry may not pay exactly what you want them to pay. We should get involved in industries that are really essentially good for the community, for the growth, for the sustainability of our community, right? That is good for the service of other people and for, those around us, for the cities and states that we live in. I mean, getting us to understand that when you get a job or when you're working in a particular field, yes, you want to gain something financially from it, but the ultimate goal is to serve other people.
Yes, I agree. And that's why I love STEM so much, because it's about finding new solutions to problems. It's about creating something that never existed, or finding something that already exists and making it better. If you just look at engineers, chemists, a lot of the STEM careers focus on helping other people or helping the world, helping to make the world a better place, helping to make things easier for our kids, and helping to make things easier for really everybody, and not just helping to make things easier, helping to make people healthier, because you have doctors that fall into STEM related careers. So I feel like those careers are they're pluses for so many reasons. You have the money aspect, you have that these careers are going to be around for the future. So you're not going to major for something in 4 years in college and graduate and you're out there looking for a job. There are plenty of jobs. The world is changing. Technology is becoming more and more prevalent. Right. So we have to be present to meet those demands.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's talk about the books that you've written here, LaTanya, because you got a number of books that are geared for children to learn about science, technology, engineering, and math. And I know that there's a new acronym of STEAM. You know, where do you fit with the addition of that?
I am able to incorporate. I actually am working on workbooks for two of my books, Marisol, a brown girl like me, and actually Adam Bum as well, but specifically Marisol, a little girl with a big dream, and Adam Bum, the autistic engineer. And so what I'm doing is I'm looking to see if I can bring those into the classroom, because you asked me, how do I capture the attention of kids? Well, I create stories. I create stories that are fun, and these stories inspire, and they also inform. In each book, we're talking about how a person is solving a particular problem by using critical thinking skills. And these critical thinking skills, even if students are not into programming, not into coding, I taught in a pre-K through 8 school for 15 years, and they have no qualms about doing coding. So I introduce it, first of all, at a very young age. When they first start, they have no idea that they're programming. What they're doing is logically putting something in steps. They're following algorithms, pseudocodes, and they really don't know it because they're having so much fun creating these little games. And I noticed that once the students do it every year, by the time they make it to maybe the 3rd or the 4th grade, I have those enthusiasts that really get interested in the code behind it, because once they're building it, you can also see the actual code that influences it, and they gain that interest. But I always tell my students, I'm not having you do this so that you can become a programmer. I'm not having you to do this so you can be an engineer. I'm having you do this so you can think critically and you can learn to be a problem solver. That is how I sell it to the kids, and it works.
Let me tell you, that is everything. And for those who aren't familiar with the acronym STEAM, that is the addition of the arts being included in the science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And you got to include the arts. And these are all skills, and these are all topics or subjects that we should be proficient in, folks. I mean, we all know that every one of us can gain from someone that has the understanding. And I think that the whole process comes from being from a holistic space, you know what I mean, LaTanya, where back in the day it was reading, writing, and arithmetic. Right? We know the 3 R's, which I never understand. Why they say R's, and none of it starts with an R, right?
Cute. It was cute.
But it was back in the day. Was that now? It's like science and technology. We got to understand engineering, you got to understand art, you got to understand math. And I would even say we could probably throw in the E standing for English, because you have to be able to communicate. You have to understand the power of the verbal and the written word. English, knowing how to speak. English, knowing how to spell.
Well, now they have spell checkers and all these things that you just talk and I'm just telling you what my students tell me. They was like, "Oh, we don't need to know how to spell. We have this, we have that." I was like, "See, you need to know how to spell."
That's the thing. That's the thing. Because here's why.
Develop those muscles.
Like spelling was, and I was always like, I got great grades when it comes to spelling and handwriting. These are two central things: knowing how to spell, knowing how to put words together, the syntax of a sentence, and then knowing how to write. I mean, like literally write, folks. Literally, like cursive and manuscript. Like these are skills, and something is getting lost. I think, LaTanya, something is being lost because we are so technologically driven. Something is being lost.
Communication. Just what you mentioned.
Communication,
right? Yes. Yes, definitely. Well, I did include art.
What do we have? Tell us, let's and Keenan and Ariel, let's pull up the covers of LaTanya's books, because I think that, when we have these, look at that. Beautiful books, Black children being encouraged to think critically about the world around them, folks. Take a look at this. But LaTanya, I want to get your take. I mean, you're an educator. You're in the classroom. You see this. We're in this technological space. We understand that there are all these different things coming at our children as well as the adults. But there are still some fundamentals that need to be kept in place, that make sure that our children are in the best position to succeed, to win in this culture and in this time. As an educator, do you feel like that's happening right now?
I still feel that way too many of our people are focused on the entertainment industry and sports. And when you look at the statistics of those that actually make it in entertainment and in sports, those statistics are very low. I do see that we've made strides and we are getting there, but what I told you when I first started, when I read said those statistics to you, that is representative that we need to do more. We need more exposure. And so that's really why I like starting at a young age, because I'm starting at an age where parents are still reading to their kids. And my books will spark that conversation, because I need to reach both of them. I need to reach the mom, dad, and the kids, so then they can start having that conversation. So what do you want to be when you grow up? What are you interested in? Start that research, because I know by the time they reach 8 and 9 years old at my school, I'm already doing surveys with them. I'm already helping them to see what their talents are, what their interests are. We do this thing that I love doing every year with my students called Reality Check. And that's where you look up, you do these personality things, and based on this, it puts you in a cluster and you choose a career. It's like, okay, so then you have to research that career and see how much that career pays and see what the requirements are and what it entails. Because you may have heard of an engineer and you may read the description, decide, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't even like math. So I have them do that. But something else that I have them do is I have them do a reality check where they have, and it's online, texasrealitycheck.org, and they have to answer these questions of what kind of house do you want, how many children, are what are going to be your eating habits, are you going to eat out? And so they keep going, and as they keep going, the amount in the corner calculates and it keeps accumulating. And so, and mind you, again, these are 8, 9, 10, and 11-year-old students. I have had students change a career choice because they decided it didn't make enough money. I had one student change her frame of mind because she really did. She was in love with her career choice and she was willing to forego some things. So she wouldn't go out there with some false expectations. And the one that really, his name was Miles. That one really, his argument really impressed me, or his rationale. He looked at the statistics and he said, you know what, I'm looking at the statistics and there are not even that many jobs out there that's hiring. There's not even that many openings. There's not a great need for what I want to be. So I need to change course. I was like, whoa, he was 9 years old. So I just love having those conversations with them. I just, I have some that decided they don't want 3 children. They want, because every time they put an extra child, that number goes up. And so maybe reality check is a form of birth control as well. I don't know.
Hey, look, you know what? That's so funny because it makes me think about the game of life. My 9-year-old, he loves playing board games. And when he's like, he got to get the children and he got to, ask them questions like, take them to college or tell them to get a job. Like, Dad, I got 2 kids. How do I do this? And I'm like, well, what do you think Daddy and Mommy do? We got to make these decisions. And then so he leaves the game of life all the time. He be like, I don't want no children. I don't even want to get married, Dad.
Exactly.
So, but I think that's the age. I mean, that's when you have these conversations because, if we don't set the platform or set the foundation for these children to think critically, like we're setting ourselves up. And it's sad, here's the one thing I remember going to college and talking to my classmates and it's like, okay, so what's your major? And they're like, I don't know. You're in college. What you mean you don't know? Now I can understand where you might say, I'm interested in this, and this, and I got to make a choice between 4 or 5 different things. That's one thing. But to not have any insight, no knowledge about where you want your life to go, what spaces you want to be in, by the time you get to college, that's disheartening.
Well, one thing I do like that's going on, I can see here with some of the high schools, is they will put them on that 4-year track. And I was teaching a high school course. It was Principles of Info Technology for the past couple of years. And I was teaching it to middle school students, even though it was a high school credit, because my take on it is these students it's Principles Info Tech is like a sample course where you take a little of everything. So they were exposed to a little of programming, hardware, software, business applications, and networking. So by the time they made it out of my class, they had an idea when they went to the 9th grade what they wanted to focus in. So if you decide you want to focus on web design, you know this in 9th grade, because some of these high schools, they put you on that 4-year track, and it's like college where all of your classes are going to feed into each other and it's going to prepare you for college. And technology is one of those fields where college is, it's great to go to college, but not necessarily go out there and get those certifications. And so I also look at my kids' history. I look at their background. I have conversations with them. I have some of my young students that are taking care of siblings that are, even with financial aid, don't think they'll be able to go to college, don't want to leave mom because they're helping out. There's just so many different situations. So I like for them to have that option as well. I'm not telling them not to go to college. I'm saying that is not the only avenue to success.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me, I want to get a couple of comments as we wrap up this conversation, LaTanya, because I know you're doing the great work of teaching the babies. But Janae wanted to
I'm actually in high school now.
Oh, They still babies. They still babies now. They still
babies. They're big babies.
They wanted to know, Latanya, what is your take on dyslexia related to STEM? Sometimes some of our kids can do it. They just need more support and get rerouted because teachers may not want to make the time. Great question, Janae. Thank you for posting that. What's your take on that, Latanya?
I feel as long as the teacher is aware, because those things are known in the school and teachers have that responsibility. And if your child is dyslexic, you need to be active as a parent and just be the strongest advocate for your kid as possible. And you need to have those conversations to make sure that that kid is getting those accommodations, because there are accommodations. There are different type funds that are designed for dyslexic students. So there's a lot out there. There are a lot of resources, but you have to be a strong advocate, do your research, just make sure that your kid is getting the help that he or she needs.
So so there are some, so like you're saying, there are some resources out there. It's not like what we saw years ago that just the children that do have dyslexia, they can still move forward in these spaces.
Yes, and the truth is people learn in different ways. You know, you have some auditory learners, you have some that learn better that way. Some are visual, some are kinesthetic. So even those dyslexic students, if you are talking to them in a very systematic way and you're letting them to perform the task, that's going to stick with them more than reading it anyway. But as far as reading, there is help in the school where the teachers have to have somebody sit with them on a one-to-one, even if it's 30 minutes a day or 30 minutes every other day, and use all of these technology resources that they have designed for dyslexic students as well. So I would encourage every year when you meet the teacher to talk to the teacher about what your child needs and ask the teacher about what they're going to do about it. Right. And if the teachers don't have all the resources, you can offer resources like, look, I found this, my kid was in such and such's class and this is what they did. We teachers, we really appreciate it. We don't get offended when you offer, I don't anyway, when you offer something to me. And if I know it's something I had never heard of, and if it's new and if it's going to help your child, that's a gift to me.
Oh, absolutely.
Not just your child, it's a gift to me, because this resource is not only going to help your child, I'm going to be able to help lots of children with this resource.
Come on, sis. Come on. All right. One more quick comment and then we'll let you go here, Latanya. I want to get your take on this. This was brought up by our culture crew member, Mike V. He said, college versus vocational schooling. I have done both, and traditional college isn't always necessary for our people to succeed. And you know what? There's a huge debate, and Mike, I appreciate you for bringing it up, bro, because there is this ongoing debate about, we always tell our children, you got to go to college, and, a lot of us anyway, you should go to college, you should get that traditional, but that may not be the place. And I hope that we're not, downplaying the power, the impact, the value of technical colleges where it's not the traditional 4 years, but you can get 2 years and you can get certified. We got a few members of our online culture crew. I know, Damon, brother, you are an engineer. Like, we shouldn't downplay that. So what's your take on that? How do we make sure that our children have a healthy appreciation for various types of learning institutions and the directions that they should go?
Well, what I do in the classroom, and I will encourage other teachers and even parents to do it as well, is when that same reality check, when we do that reality check, we also talk about school. And when it addresses schools, it addresses the cost of school. It also addresses the different types of university, 2-year college versus 4-year university versus vocational. We talk about private versus public. When they look at those careers and they look to see what the career entails, they also see what's required for those careers. And we have conversations about what they feel is best, because I like to have a little background about who I'm talking to. So my kids, I get to know them very well. And sometimes when they're talking to me, they're telling me that college may not be in their future. And some of those kids, they probably need to go straight into the industry. And those certifications are powerful. I'm going to tell you a story. When I was first relearning programming so that I could teach it into the school, I was with some more teachers. And I had one teacher whose cousin was a makeup artist. He went online. You know how you have edX and all these online courses that you can take. So he went online and he took programming. I'm not sure which programming language, but he was self-taught with the help of this online platform. And guess who he ended up working for?
Who?
Bill Gates.
Damn.
And he was all over. He was in France,
Bill Gates
traveling.
Wait a minute, hold on, Tony. The brother went on working for Bill Gates after getting a certificate online?
Yes, because it is not what you can show them on paper. It's what you can show them here. And a lot of and even when you look at Indeed and LinkedIn, a lot of them are having these aptitude tests now. But you can tell people all day long, I'm an engineer, I'm a programmer, but if you can't perform it, so a lot of these, they'll look at your certification and say, okay, you know a little something. But once you prove yourself, all you need is that one opportunity to get your foot in the door, and then it's up from there.
That's absolutely it. Look, LaTanya, our time has been certainly very well spent. And I appreciate you for coming on and talking about, the importance of STEM, how you're teaching STEM early. Let's talk about how people can get in contact with you. You got books on Pawn Books. Look at you about to show us a book. What you got? What you got? Boom.
I didn't have any books here with me, so I just printed them out. And so this is actually a picture.
Wait a minute, hold on, sis. Hold on. We professional up in this, y'all. We got you. What's the website you want people to go to?
Okay, so my website is Edge Uspire, and that's EDGE, like Leading Edge Services. So edgeuspire.com.
edgeuspire.com.
Yeah, that's my LLC. The Grow with STEM is underneath EduSpire because I'm doing a lot of things.
All right, I'm seeing. Wait a minute, hold on. I'm pulling up. Okay, boom. I'm seeing it in Keenan and Ariel. Let's pull it up. Yep. Boom. That's the website. All right, hold on. Do we need? So if you scroll down, you'll see. There we go.
Those are my subsidiaries.
Okay.
And Grow with STEM. I was selling the books and packaging everything myself, but lately I've been sending people to Amazon because I'm just going through some changes with the business. I'm reorganizing some things, so I'm sending people straight to Amazon.
Okay,
starting
that's awesome.
A new school. I'm teaching computer science for the first time, so I got a lot going on right now.
You got a lot of stuff happening. You got a lot of pots on the.
Somebody else ship those books out for me. So if you just look up my name on, I have coloring books. I have lots of stuff. So if you just look at my name, and all of my stuff is educational. So even my coloring books focus on. I have one for Black women. I have one for all women, and they all have rhythm. They're all poetic. Right. So I have the poems and the pictures there for you to color.
There we go.
That's me. Thank you.
That's the team. That's how we do here on the culture. All right, so there we go. There we go, folks. Look, our sister LaTanya Brooks is doing it real big, and she's making sure that she's not just talking about it, writing books about it. She's actually in the classroom. She's actually doing it. She's doing this, and she's been doing this for a long time. So definitely go check her out, support her if you can, and let's continue to have the conversations. LaTanya, I am grateful for your time this afternoon. Thank you so much for talking to us about the importance and how you're doing the work of teaching STEM early. And we look forward to seeing you continue to grow and continue to be successful, sis. Thank you for being so good for the culture.
Okay, thanks for having me. Bye.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I need your help, y'all. I need your help. Look, we're growing a community, and this is the time to put our community resources to work. When I come back, I'm going to share with you the case that is still an open case, but this is an opportunity for justice for a family in need in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So we're going to talk about the story of Asia Womack when we come back. And I got something for you for Trends Post and Doing the Most. Stay with us. The final few minutes of the culture is coming at you right here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
An angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are black beyond measure.
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture. I wanted to take the final few minutes to really put out the word about a case that has really just hit me. I mean, this is such a heartbreaking case. And if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas, you understand, you may have heard about this case on a local level. There are not many media outlets, and I've been kind of scouring with the media landscape about this case. And this is the case of our little 21-year-old sister, Asia Womack. Asia is a young black woman who is an athlete. She's a 21-year-old basketball player, and she was allegedly killed by a man who she beat in a basketball game. This story is crazy, to say the least, folks. The story is that a friend of hers who she took in a basketball game. It was just a friendly game of pickup basketball. They played the game, a lot of trash talking, but she is a basketball player, so she essentially beat this guy. And the guy that I'm speaking of is 31-year-old Cameron Hogg. And look, can we put up? This is Cameron. I don't know if we can, Keenan. Let's zoom in on his face. I know we got the whole thing, but can we get a picture of just his face? And this is where it's happening, because apparently after the basketball game, he left the court, took his family home, according to the reports from the police, took the family home, his people, his brothers and sisters, came back to the basketball court and shot Asia Womack multiple times on the court. Are y'all understanding me? 31-year-old, he got so upset at our little sister for beating him at a basketball game that he shot and killed this little sister. Police are looking for him. We need to find this joker. And I'm using this platform because as I'm growing in this, and as we are building what we have here, so many of you are always asking, well, what can we do to help? And I think the smallest thing that we can do is break the silence when things of this magnitude, things of this type of tragedy happens, that we don't just say, hold on to that mantra, snitches get stitches, and the dumb stuff that we do, you know what I mean? Culturally, that when we see this level of pain being inflicted, that we use our voice to speak out against it. And I don't care if it's a black man. He shot this little sister, this young sister, because of a basketball game. Let me share with you with the mom. Yeah, it is. Thank you so much, Keenan and Eric. Look at this guy. If you know who he is, his name is Cameron Hogg, H-O-G-G, 31 years old. He's in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Now, I'm not familiar with Texas, but to my people down in Texas, if y'all see this guy, if you know of this guy, if you have family, somebody know where this joker is. Somebody knows where this guy is. Now, there were a couple of outlets, local, like the CBS affiliate in Dallas has been looking, put the word out there. People Magazine, they put it out there 4 days ago. But I wanted the Black Star Network, the community, the supporters, the family of the Black Star Network, our national Black media, digital media space, with all of the people that we know. And y'all can chop up this segment, tell your friends about it, share it, do whatever you need to do. But let's find this guy and bring him to justice and bring the Womack family some peace of mind, because they didn't deserve to lose their child, to lose their family member in such a horrific manner. I want to share with you what the mother of Asia had to say about this situation, because it's so sad. Keenan, if we can look at this. Now, this is from the mother of Asia. She said Asia loved basketball. She loved it to a point where she died doing what she loved and shouldn't have died that way. And this is from Miss Andrea Womack. She's eaten with this man, fed him, and he turned on her and killed her in a vicious way. Now, according to the Womack family, they believe that Hall couldn't take losing and subsequent teasing after Womack beat him at the game. So so that is what they believe brought it to this point. Now, according to the family's pastor, Reverend John Daly, he told CBS 11, the Dallas affiliate, he had trouble understanding how Hall could react so violently. He said, "This is so senseless. You are embarrassed because a female beat you in basketball." See, ooh. To all of the men that are watching today, see, this is the stuff I'm talking about when we need to kind of do some reprogramming. You ain't a man if you're willing to commit violence against a woman because of a basketball game. If a woman beats you in basketball or tennis, or if she beats you in whatever, but it's the nature of competition. But you man enough to pull a gun on our little sister and then shoot her multiple times because you couldn't take losing. I'm trying to pull up some information, and folks, I want y'all to talk to me on this. And I'm putting this out there because, again, some of you live in Dallas. Some of you have family and friends that may be in Dallas. And so I want us to pool our resources. And I just wanted to give you the phone number for the detective that's in charge of this case. And Keenan, if we can post that. Anyone with information about Cameron Hall's whereabouts should contact Detective Derek Corner at 241-671-3605. 214-671-3605. So I want us, if we can do anything to help our people, it's breaking the silence of violence that continues to plague our communities. Being afraid. See, from this level, what you afraid of? You turn a joker in. You turn a joker in. Because that type of individual don't deserve to be in the neighborhood and walk in the streets. Can you imagine that? He walking the streets like everything cool. Police are looking for him. Now, I wonder, and y'all tell me, because again, I'm not in Dallas. Has this been talked about? Has this been talked about? Have y'all heard about this in Dallas and Fort Worth down in Texas? Tiana checked in. You said this is disturbing on so many levels. How did we get to a place where we can't resolve conflict or let our pride get in the way? I don't know, sis. Especially for young black men. Especially for young black men. At a drop of a dime, we're willing to get violent with our own women. At a drop of a dime, we're willing to think that that's the only way to resolve conflict. You get teased. Karen Connor, you checked in my sister. You said this is devastating. He is a monster. McCole, good to hear from you today, McCole. You said, how fragile is his ego that he felt the need to kill a young woman because he lost a game? Something is definitely going on with his mental health. I don't even want to have that conversation. Let's talk about justice first, and then we can talk about mental health. I know that's not what you're saying, McCole. Trust and believe. I know it's not what you're saying. I'm just making a point, because some people will get down that, go down that Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole and start talking, well, what's his health? I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. You talk about the state of his mental health after he's locked up. But don't bring me no mental health conversation when that man pulled that trigger, as if he don't know the difference between right and wrong. I don't care how upset you are. See, that's become premeditated because you left. You went home, you dropped off your family, right, to make sure they were good. And then you come back to take the life of somebody else's family. No, don't give me no damn mental health conversation. Don't tell me I don't want to know what. No, I don't want to know what. I only want to know is where's this joker, And then where's he being transported to serve time? So I'm telling you, don't talk to me about no damn mental health right now. Do not talk to me about that. Don't talk to me about that. But I appreciate that, Nicole, because it has to be, I know it's going to be brought up, but this is where we stand. Let's stop jumping to mental health. Let's get justice for the victims, family first. Then all the other conversations can happen. Justice first. Davey, you said, what a coward. Can't take an L. Sis must have crossed him up on something serious. Yeah, I mean, right. Right. Taylor checked in. Ego. I'm speechless. Yep. Janae, you checked in. October is also Domestic Violence Month. This is so horrific. Is there a GoFundMe for the family? I don't know. I'm going to try to try to see if we can get in contact with the family, see what the latest is. But I wanted to use the space, Janae. We got the platform. We've been blessed with the platform. So let's do some good. Somebody that's on here, you know what I'm saying? This is Black folk. Somebody knows somebody that knows somebody that may know somebody. It's not 6 degrees. It might be 2 or 3 degrees, but somebody knows somebody. And I just wanted to elevate this story because it's so sad. It's indicative of what was needed to be done in our community. Such a sad situation. Such a sad situation. So I'm encouraging all of us, if you know somebody down in Texas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, most of the time, the person that commits these crimes, they don't go travel to the other side of the country. They stay right in the same area that they commit the crimes. I need y'all to help us out with this. Help out to the family of Asia Womack. Anyone with information about Cameron Hogg's whereabouts, contact Detective Derek Corner at 214-671-3605. Again, that number is 214-671-3605. Don't call Detective Corner with hearsay unless you have some real good leads that will bring justice to the family of our sister Asia Womack. Not hearsay, I think I know. Give them something to work with. They don't even know we're talking about this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't contact the family. I didn't even talk. I was like, let me just put this word out there. Maybe then I'll call the detective and say, hey, we put something out there. But they don't even know. This is just literally coming out of the space of, I am so disturbed by this case for so many reasons that, and we'll talk about the other stuff later. I want to bring this joker to justice. I want to get him. I want to make sure that he is held responsible and is punished for this. Because that's ridiculous. Absolutely insane to me that we got to this point in our neighborhood, in our community, in our culture, that we just killing over a damn basketball game. You can't take it. Now, there might be some more stuff behind the scenes. I don't know. I'm just going off of what was being reported as of right now. Because they're friends. I don't know. I'm not worried about none of that. And I don't think any one of us should be worried about any one of that, because guess what? The sister ain't here no more. Well, don't talk about, what was the conversation? What was it? He took her life. He took her life. At this point, none of that is relevant. He took her life. Let's have those conversations after he's locked up and prosecuted for taking her life. Let's have those conversations once the family feels that justice is being served. He took that little sister's life. Senselessly. So to Cameron Hogg, don't cry no crocodile tears if somebody busts through your door or through your family's door. Don't cry no tears. You ain't got nothing coming from me. Don't cry police brutality, because you took a life of a Black woman senselessly. So please, let's use our community resources. Let's put the word out as much as you can. If you want to share this, by all means, you can share this. But let's try to do our due diligence. This is small. This is not. I'm not asking y'all to vote for nobody. I'm not asking y'all to come to a rally. I'm just saying, keep your eyes open. If you know something, and if you live in the area, again, Dallas, Fort Worth, that part of Texas, if you know something, then let's help this family who is grieving right now. Because if any one of our family members was gunned down like this, we would want the community to support us. All right. So I wanted that to be the last conversation for the day. I don't want to end it on a sad note, but, you know, I definitely want us to show that the power of the community, let me just say this, the power of the community, of a community that we have been building since the very beginning, the community, the supporters, those of you who love what we do each and every day here on the Culture and on Black Star Network. This is why we are here. Look, unlike any other media, you know, we can just put out a picture and then move on to the next story. That's not how you build community. You build community by seeing each other's humanity, by recognizing that, by understanding that, by valuing that. And that's what I wanted us to move to. That's the space I'm trying to get us to move to. Let's look at it that if one member of the family, if a family in one city is hurt, then we all feel the hurt. Let's get back to building that, because that's how we're going to see some real progress. We don't need nobody else to help us to feel. We don't need nobody else to teach us how to be human. We can do that for ourselves. So to the family of Asia Womack and to all of those that she has impacted, may God be with her. Our condolences go to her family, but let us use our resources to bring justice. All right, family. On that note, thank each and every one of you for joining us today. I thank my fantastic guest, Hassan, Latanya Brooks. I want to thank my team, Keenan, Ariel, Joel, my control room. Thank you, and I certainly thank all of you, my beautiful, wonderful online culture crew that's continued to be a part of this growth and be a part of this community. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's find some justice for the family of Asia Womack. And I thank y'all, and God willing, we'll talk tomorrow. We'll have some more important conversations tomorrow. And stay tuned. Roland Martin Unfiltered is up next at 6 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time. And as always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. Let's continue to fight for justice, and let's get justice for Asia Womack. Love you. Talk to you soon. Peace.